Welcome to today's resource investigation. Look, we need to talk about a massive financial liability sitting right inside your home. If you're relying on the tap, you're relying on a crumbling water grid that's dangerously close to failing. But there is a solution, a $50 DIY asset that can actually bypass the whole thing. As an investigative financial researcher, my goal today is to unpack the exact numbers and the engineering behind these claims to see what's really going on.
Now, the source material we're looking at today introduces this really fascinating shift in perspective. It argues that you aren't actually a homeowner when it comes to your water. Nope, you are a water tenant. Think about it. You're basically paying rent, which goes up all the time, by the way, to a localized monopoly. And what are you renting? Access to a 160-year-old municipal grid that's practically falling apart. You don't own the resource, you just rent it.
But here's where it gets exciting. The documentation doesn't just point out the failing grid, it outlines a highly specific solution. We're talking about a simple $50 DIY asset that claims to pull 40 gallons of pure water right out of thin air every single day. It completely shifts you from renting to owning your supply. So if you're ready to uncover the truth behind owning your independent resources, go ahead and hit that like button and make sure you subscribe right now.
Section 1. Peeling back the accounts.
So our investigative data highlights how utility monopolies are pretty much actively hiding their failure rates. Why does this matter? Well, it comes down to source credibility theory. Basically, 78.8% of people highly value radical transparency. We want to know exactly what's broken before we make big financial or survival decisions, right? That's exactly why we're digging into this buried data today. Once you see the true degraded state of these municipal accounts, you can actually make informed, data-driven decisions for your family, instead of blindly trusting that monthly utility bill.
And the timeline projected here is genuinely alarming. The documentation shows we're hooked up to a century-old grid that is literally corroding from the inside out. We're talking heavy metals, microscopic fractures, failing pressure valves. It's compounding daily. And because utilities are facing billions in deferred maintenance, guess who pays for it? You do, through compounding rate hikes. But the scariest part? The data projects this grid is heading for a fundamental snapping point in the year 2026. If a systemic failure hits, the average family is exactly 3 days away from a total survival crisis. This isn't just a health risk, it's a terrible financial investment in a doomed system.
Section 2. Niche bending the asset logic.
To really grasp the solution here, we've got to look at the financial difference between a drain and an independent asset. You know standard accounting, right? An asset puts money into your pocket, and a liability perpetually drains it. Well, relying strictly on municipal tap water is categorized here as a pure liability. It's a constant drain. But the source introduces this concept called influencer science. It's basically taking massive industrial atmospheric technology and scaling it down, niche bending it, into a personal asset like the smart water box. By using this scaled-down tech, you flip the financial script. You halt the monthly drain and actually keep that money in your own household.
The engineering behind this is pretty incredible. The blueprints detail how the smart water box uses targeted thermodynamics to literally extract moisture straight from the ambient air. It sucks in the air, cools it down to the dew point, and harvests the condensation. And the specs show it works effectively even in brutal environments. We're talking 10% desert humidity. You don't need to drill $1 million well or connect to those failing city pipes. This mechanism basically turns your backyard into your own localized private atmospheric water generation plant.
Listen, we are dedicated to bringing you objective breakdowns of these alternative technologies. Hit that subscribe button right now so you do not miss our next tech breakdown. Our investigation is committed to analyzing the data regarding your family's future, and staying plugged in ensures you've got the facts you need.
Section 3. The $50 mechanism breakdown.
Let's demystify how this actually works, because it's a brilliant, simple scientific progression. Step 1 starts with ambient air. Our atmosphere is essentially an infinite, invisible reservoir of moisture, even in arid climates. The intake system pulls this in. Moving to step 2, the system triggers a rapid cooling process. It drops the internal temperature right below the dew point, forcing that moisture to condense from a gas into a liquid. Finally, in step 3, it collects and filters it into pure, naturally distilled H2O. And here is the absolute kicker. Because this water is generated on-site from atmospheric vapor, it has never come into contact with a single aging lead pipe or chemical plant.
What really stands out is how accessible this is. The source makes it crystal clear. You do not need an engineering degree to build this. The blueprints use standard Lego-style parts. We're talking basic PVC, copper coils, a standard dehumidifier core, and simple filtration mesh, all of which you can grab at your local hardware store. Plus, it runs on less energy than a kitchen toaster. The documentation even shows you how to hook it up to a small solar panel, giving you a 100% off-grid point B result. It's total systemic isolation for anyone trying to cut ties with utility dependency.
Section 4. Evidence Moments. Lab Proof and ROI.
Let's look at the hard data. When analyzing the toxic reality of modern hydration, the comparison is pretty shocking. The data shows that municipal tap water and even heavily marked up bottled water carries a documented risk of lead contamination. On top of that, you've got municipal fluoride and industrial forever chemicals, PFAs, which are notoriously difficult to filter out of groundwater. Contrast that with the Smart Water Box. The documentation reports 0 lead, 0 fluoride, and 0 forever chemicals. Since it pulls from atmospheric vapor, it completely bypasses groundwater contaminants entirely.
And we've got a crucial evidence moment to back this up. The source gives us a case study from a user named Mark in Arizona. Mark built this exact DIY system. He didn't just use cheap home testing kits. He sent his generated water straight to professional independent laboratories for rigorous analysis. His lab results came back explicitly stating 0 lead, 0 fluoride, and 0 forever chemicals. We use his objective lab data to show that this $50 asset massively outperforms premium bottled brands, which are frequently just repackaged municipal tap water anyway.
When calculating the radical return on investment, the metrics are highly compelling. The source estimates the initial hardware build cost is comfortably between $50 and $200, depending on where you source your parts. Compare that to the thousands of dollars the average household bleeds on water bills and plastic bottles over a few short years. The documentation pushes the fact that this isn't just survivalist hardware, it is a robust financial escape hatch. The upfront cost is fully recouped in utility savings in just a matter of months. After that, you're in a state of pure zero-cost resource generation.
Section 5. Reclaim your independence today.
The source wraps up by outlining the exact deliverables available for those looking to implement this system. First, you get the official Smart Water Box blueprints, a comprehensive, step-by-step schematic for the physical build. Alongside that, the package includes an off-grid power guide, showing you how to wire the generator to a solar battery so it runs continuously during blackouts. And finally, they include a highly guarded survival seed bank secret. This bonus details how to pair your new chemical-free water with high-yield heirloom seeds to create an isolated drought-resistant food source.
The source strongly urges you to click the link in the description immediately to secure these blueprints and the bonus manuals before the bundle is removed from public access. We've gone over the data, the laboratory evidence, and the massive financial stakes of relying on a rotting grid, but this investigation leaves us with one critical question to ponder. If a simple $50 atmospheric box can truly replace the function of a multi-billion-dollar municipal grid, how much of our daily utility dependency is actually a physical necessity, and how much is simply an illusion of control? Click the link below, examine the blueprints, and decide for yourself.